Greetings, my couples and my singles. This is a marriage teaching that is for those who are intending to get married in some time to come and those who are already in there. This message is focusing on how we should be treating the in-laws in our marriage or the extended family. A house is to be taken like a physical house foundation. When you're building, you must know that each room should have a foundation. Even the toilet should have its foundation in a big room. Let's say we are talking of a 7 or 8 roomed house. A toilet, a kitchen, a dining room, some few bedrooms. There's a washing room, maybe there's a prayer room, maybe there's a guest room, maybe there's a different toilet and bathroom. Each room should have its own foundation. We will touch foundations some other time, but because of this topic, it needs to be just looked at in a summarized way. If every room demands its foundation, there is no room that after you erect the foundation or the house, then you say, there should be a room here, or this room should be cut in, should be divided into two, or the kitchen is too big or it's too small, let us make it small or make it. Every boundary of a room should first start from its foundation. I believe if we have building engineers, they can help me on that. They can help me confirm it. You cannot have a room that does not start from a foundation. If there has to be a room or a compartment, there it should start from its foundation. That means from the plan, the foundation should be there. So I'm addressing the issue of in-laws. Good for those who are still single, so that they can still think and look at it and prepare and work on it, talk about it, because it's a very sensitive area that has also caused some marriages to shake, because they did not know how to handle. They did not have foundation. They did not have a room for in-laws, how they should handle them. So because they did not have a plan for them on how to handle them, it caused a lot of problems in the marriages. So when two people get married, the two have gotten married, but their union is an amalgamation or the uniting of two families. Two families have married. Two families have come together to become one. So although this is the first family, which is unique in its own way, but their marriage has made two families to come together to be one as well. So in the coming of those families to become one, there should be proper foundation laid on how we handle them, how we talk to them, how we deal with them, how we correct them, how we rebuke them, how we teach them, how we stay with them, how we address them, how we provide for them, how we help them. Those things should be discussed. And I always talk to my single people and say, if you do not sit down to think about these things, to sit down and talk about it, and then you focus on more physical, sensitive areas like sex, it blinds you. Premarital sex blinds you from discussing important matters. So you sit down and you start discussing, because some of these issues, when you want to discuss them in marriage, it might not work, because in marriage you don't change much of someone's point. It is when you are single that you have to say, okay, I don't agree with that, let's work on another way, and then you work on another way, you agree. But when it's in marriage now, it's difficult to change, because you are already in there. People rarely change in marriage. They change in courtship, because they love you and the love is still strong. They can compromise and work on agreeing on some things. So when you get married, You are married to that person, but you are to accommodate also the in-laws. That person has siblings. That person has uncles. That person has nieces. That person has parents. So if you are not trained on how to handle them, it's going to be a catastrophe. Number one, the reason why you are in that marriage, in that family, is to help them fulfill their purpose as well. You have a purpose in that family to make them know God better. Your purpose in that family is to make them know God better. That means you are bringing Jesus to that family. So if you get there and they are rifts, they are family rifts, you get there and say, we don't talk with this family because this family is very wicked. We have enemies in this family. They are our enemies. These are our. You go there and try to work your way to resolve those rifts and say, and bring Christ. Get themselves saved and get them to know Christ. If they are saved, you are to teach them. No, the Bible says this. You are to win their souls. So winning is progressive. Even when they are saved, they still need to be won to the way of love. They still need to be won to the way of forgiveness. They still need to be won to the way of patience. They still need to be won to the way of long suffering, Christian living. So you are in that family, either as a son-in-law, you are in that family to help them know Christ better. Even as an in-law, even as a daughter-in-law, you are still, your purpose, first primary purpose, to get them to know God better. You are not to go there to join their enemies, to join them, hate their enemies. You are there to go and make Christ known to them. You are there to go and introduce the Bible to them. Number two, there is a way you deal with their parents. Before you know you knew your wife naked, there is a mother who spent 2-3 days in the labor room. There is nothing you can do to separate them from that bond of a mother. There is someone who spent 2-3 days when that person was sick as an infant. Right now, I am a new father. My baby is almost 2 weeks old. So, there are some days we sleep, we exchange sleeping because the child is crying. The mother and the father took turns, sleepless nights, only to ensure that that child grew. Before you saw your man naked, there was a woman he saw naked. That is his mother. Before you gave him your chest, there was a chest he knew before that. He bonded with it, and there is nothing you can do about it. So your journey, your purpose is not to divide them. Your purpose is not to hate the mother who brought him to this world. Your purpose is not to see and analyze how stupid or how wicked or how unreasonable that woman may be. It has to be known also that there is a lot of investment that was put on that your spouse to take him to school. Some of the parents would have driven better cars. They would have bought houses. They would have lived better lives. But they did not, because they were sacrificing that your spouse to go to school, to go to hospital, to go to places where they would ensure he gets education or he gets medicine. And because of that, they did not live their best lives. So don't come in now into his life and start thinking you are the irreplaceable, the most highest, the most high in his life. No. Don't try to replace the place of the mother. Take your place. Your place is incontestable. Don't contest the place of the parents. And when the parents, to some parents, there is something you can do about it. So there are some places, especially in our nation, where a child is like an investment. They raised that child. So you came at a place where they finished educating him and they wanted to reap the harvest of their labor. Then you came from nowhere. You came as wife or as husband. And now you start limiting and you start making sure that he does not forget that he is now married. So he should not forget his parents. No. What you came to do is to make sure he appreciates their sacrifice. What you should come to do is to make sure you actually love those parents. Love those people who made him who he is now. Some of them might not have been raised by the actual parents, but maybe the grandmothers, grandfathers, or foster parents, or whoever raised your person, your spouse, deserves your greatest appreciation. You should actually come into his life, into her life, and help him appreciate those who are responsible for his up or her upbringing. You love them, and you make sure you don't fight them. It is not in your place to fight them. It is not in your place to correct them. Let God do that. Your duty is to love them. Your only weapon is love. Love them. Help him love you. And thirdly, your duty when you get married, you exchange parents. If you were single and you were providing to your family, now that you are married, your parents already love you. You cannot contest that. So when you now get married, it's now your wife who is now doing it. And then if you are the lady, you don't continue sending things to your parents and say, I have sent you this. You say your in-law is now sending you this. Your in-law has done this. Let them, your job is to preach the goodness of the person you married. Your job is to preach to them that I married right. Son, you don't continue telling your parents that, no, I had to fight to work hard to send you this money. No. You said it is your daughter-in-law. Oh, thank to God for this. I almost couldn't do it, but it is your daughter-in-law. Make them fall in love with your wife. Wife, let them, your parents fall in love with their in-law. And while I am still at that, when you have issues in your marriage, do not take it to your parents. That's why they are pastors. That's why they are counselors. You go with it to the pastors or to the counselors. Let them solve it. Never make a mistake of taking your marriage problems to your parents, because your parents or your family are your people. They will always take your sides, even when you are wrong. So you don't take your issues there. And you know what? If you have an issue and then you take to your parents, if you get to an opportunity where you apologize to each other, you fix your issues, and then you start afresh, your people will never forget, and they will almost never forgive. So why risk? Why do that bad thing of causing them to hate your person forever? Your job is to make them love you. Even when it's so, you can only get it to them when you are at a point where you want to end the marriage. Maybe it's abuse, maybe it's infidelity, all these kind of terrible, dangerous circumstances in marriage. But before that, before you get to that stage, you should not take to them any issue. Why? Because it puts friction between their relationship. They will never come to a point where they love your spouse unconditionally. You must also remember that if you want to preach how bad he is or how bad she is, you are only preaching how bad you are, because the two have become one flesh. So if you are preaching how bad your spouse is, you are only preaching how bad you are, because that spouse was chosen by who? By you. So it is not in your place to go and herald the shortcomings of your spouse. Don't do it. Concerning the siblings, the uncles, the nieces, there are others who come without any notice. There are others who still take their brother as their friend. There are some issues you don't have to take to heart. That you don't have to talk to my husband. If you want anything, you must talk to me. This man, your brother is now married. If you want something, talk to me. Or you talk to your wife's sisters or your parents. They know if they want things, they must talk to me, not to you. No. This person has nieces, nephews. Those people, they are used. Some of those issues, you don't have to take them to heart. You must let some issues go. There are some childish issues. You don't have to make to demand the protocol on everything along those issues. And the fifth point is, if there is a problem with your brother, your sister, with your wife or with your husband, it must be you who deals with your family members. Don't allow your spouse to deal with them. You must cover your spouse. Let them go and say, it was actually my sister who was chasing me out. The in-law was quiet. It was actually my brother, my own brother, who was chasing me or scolding me. Your daughter-in-law was quiet. She did not say anything. Don't get to be in the disciplinary committee of your in-laws. Stay out of those issues. If the brother or the sister angers you, don't deal with them. Tell your husband. Tell your wife. Let them deal with their people. It's not in your place to deal with them. This is to maintain a peaceful in-law relationship. This is how a family becomes bonded. I myself here, I don't remember any issue that I reported to my parents about my wife. Not because she does not have any issues. She has a lot of them. We have issues. But I do not take it to them. And she is one of their favorite daughter-in-laws. Why? Because I don't take issues there. And if there is anyone who wants to have any issue with I make sure I deal with them. I don't allow them to deal with my wife. I don't allow them to exchange words with my wife. No. That's why I'm there. I cover my wife. And I cover also my family from my wife. I make sure that is done. So, until those things are done, you must know that there will be issues. Fire on the mountain one day. Your wife or your husband is a foreigner to your people. So your job is to make them love your person. You chose him and you are trying to make him find a place. You are trying to find a place in your family. It's your duty to preach the goodness of that person. You cover their mistake. And then you make sure that if there are any issues with your siblings, with your parents, you face them, you deal with them. It is not in your place to fight your in-laws. Let your person fight them. And also to those daughters, when you were working and you were providing to your family, when you decided to get married, it does not work that way anymore. You don't continue to be providing to your family because you are now married. That's why your father, especially if you do a wedding, your father comes holding your hand and he gives you to the new person who should take the role of your father to you. That is your husband. He has transferred fatherhood to him. He has transferred ownership to your husband. He has told you no longer have a room in the house. You are now to build this family. So if you were providing to your family, you now have to discuss it with your husband. Yes, we are married. Yes, you paid my dowry, but my family needs help. You ask from your husband. And when you do it, I said you exchange parents. Let your husband be the one who you put in the front and say, we want to continue helping, or we might not be helping as we used to be because we also want to build our own home. But we're going to be putting this. And then you go in the name of your husband. Same with the men. You were doing things to your family, but now you are married. You go in the name of the wife. You say, okay, I was doing this to my family. They still need our help, even if they know and understand I'm married. And then you discuss it. How much are we going to do this? You cannot say on another point that we have to do 50-50 because families are different. Their level of prosperity might be different. So you sit down and reason and say which family needs our help most. The family that that needs your help most is the one that you help. That is how it works. And it should happen in love. It should happen in agreement. Two cannot work together if they do not agree. If you get to a point where you are sending money to your relatives outside the knowledge of your spouse, that marriage is already having problems. It should not be so. Maybe you discover that your spouse does not want, now you do it secretly. That means there's still a problem. And in the long run, that problem will surface and there's going to be a lot of issues. So you better find a counselor or a pastor to help you fix this so that you work well. I'll speak on finances, because when you are married as well, you all own the finances of the home. And then, of course, there are problems with when there is a spender and a saver. We'll work on this when we talk about finances in marriages. So I believe this has helped you. If you have any question, you are free to come to my inbox. Plus 27 62 956 1234. FON signing out. The Lord bless you and keep you and make his face to shine upon you. God bless you more and more and more. Amen.